Sat Shri Akal, Namaste, hello and welcome to the Truth Tribe Show. मैं ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ host Ravi Tur ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗੇ ਹਾਂ about policing and law enforcement. ਇਹ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਇੰਟਰਸਟ ਹੈ ਸਾਡੇ policing system ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂ ਜੋ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਜੁਆਇਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ as a career or a profession ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ simply ਇੱਕ fellow community member and a fellow immigrant ਦੀ story ਤੋਂ ਸਿੱਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ. And for all that, we have our very special guest today, Jaspreet Singh Rajput. Sir, welcome to the show.
Sat Shri Akal and good day to everyone. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure to have you, sir. I'm looking forward to our conversations. जो लोग जसप्रीत राजपूत ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਜਾਣ ਲੈਣ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੈਰੀਅਰ ਬਤਾਇਆ mostly law enforcement, aviation industry ਤੇ community advocacy ਵਿੱਚ. Currently ਇਹ serve ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ with RCMP. ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ role ਨੇ investigative officer, designated media relationships officer, recruiting officer. ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਇਹ RCMP ਦੇ EDI board, which is the Equity, Diversity and Inclusion board ਦੇ ਵੀ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਨੇ. ਆਪਣੇ commercial pilot ਦੇ background ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ different ਨਜ਼ਰੀਆ ਤੇ ਸਮਝ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ. ਜਸਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਦੀ dedication ਆਪਣੇ ਕੰਮ ਲਈ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੀ community ਲਈ ਇੱਕ ਮਿਸਾਲ ਹੈ. Super excited to cover all these topics, but ਅੱਜ ਦੇ show ਦੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ sir, in your own words, who are you and what do you do?
In my own words, I'm a family man. And a dad, a son, a husband, and on top of everything, I'm a community member and working with a law enforcement agency.
ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਦੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਲੈਟਸ ਸੇ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਮਯਾਬੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਕਸੈਸ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਪਰਸਨਲ ਡੈਫੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਸਕਸੈਸ ਦੀ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਨੂੰ ਸਕਸੈਸਫੁਲ ਕੰਸੀਡਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਅਰਾਊਂਡ
So community ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ successful ਹੋਣ ਦੀ definition everybody thinks in a different perspective, different scenario ਨਾਲ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਨੇ. My definition of success is like when you work in the community and when you guide a youth and that youth becomes something someday. That's the definition of my success. For some people, they think they can buy properties, they can build empire with money. But for my own life, this is the success definition.
That's wonderful. So, ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਰੋਲ ਮਾਡਲ ਜਾਂ ਇਨਸਪੀਰੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਕੌਣ ਨੇ who would that be?
ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਗਰੋ ਅਪ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਸਾਡੇ ਰੋਲ ਮਾਡਲਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਹਰ ਸਟੇਜ ਤੇ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਅਲੱਗ-ਅਲੱਗ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ. ਬਚਪਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰੋਲ ਮਾਡਲਸ ਨੇ they can be different. When we were going through the school and college and adulthood, there were different role models. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੇ ਟੀਚਰਸ ਸੀਗੇ, ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸਰਸ ਸੀਗੇ ਜਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗਰੋ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਰਿਸ਼ਤੇਦਾਰ ਜਾਂ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਰੋਲ ਮਾਡਲ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ. ਸੋ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਰੋਲ ਮਾਡਲਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੇਰੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਅੰਕਲ ਸੀਗੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਤਾਇਆ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਵਰ ਇਨ ਦ ਆਰਮਡ ਫੋਰਸਿਸ ਦੀ ਬੈਕਗ੍ਰਾਉਂਡ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣ ਕੇ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਇੰਸਪੀਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਸੀਗੀ. ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਲਜ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੀਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਾਲਜ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 에ਅਰ ਕੈਡੈਟ ਬਣਨ ਦਾ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ. ਸੋ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੀਨੀਅਰ ਆਫਿਸਰਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਯੂਨੀਫਾਰਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਰੋਲ ਮਾਡਲ ਸੀਗੇ ਸਾਡੇ. ਪਰਟੀਕੁਲਰਲੀ ਅਗਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਰੋਲ ਮਾਡਲਸ ਦੇ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ 3 ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਨਾਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹਾਂਗਾ. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਮਾਰਸ਼ਲ ਆਫ ਦੀ 에ਅਰ ਫੋਰਸ ਅਰਜਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਸੀਗੇ, ਜਨਰਲ ਹਰਬਖਸ਼ ਸਿੰਘ ਐਂਡ ਫੀਲਡ ਮਾਰਸ਼ਲ ਮਾਨਿਕ ਸ਼ਾਹ ਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਯੂਨੀਫਾਰਮ ਦਾ ਸ਼ੌਂਕ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਉਹ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੀਗਾ.
Thank you. ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਨਾਮ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ because these are highly reputable people in India and for anyone to look up to and take inspiration from. I guess that leads me into my next question, and I thought this was very interesting. I had a note made here. You were involved in NCC at a very young age, so National Cadet Corps, and you were also awarded a Best Cadet of the Year award as well. I think ਤੁਸੀਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ touch ਕੀਤਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ inspiration ਉੱਤੇ ਕੀ ਸੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ family background ਤੋਂ, but can you take me back in those moments? How was it being a cadet? How were those early days, and what was the inspiration behind it?
I studied in Khalsa College, Amritsar. So Khalsa College, ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਸਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਐਡਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਲਈ ਆ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਕਿ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਾਲ ਆਫ ਆਨਰ ਸੀਗੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਕਾਲਜ ਦੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਮਿਲਟਰੀ ਜਨਰਲਸ ਦੀਆਂ ਫੋਟੋਜ਼ ਲੱਗੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ. ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਯੰਗ ਪਰਸਨ ਐਕਟੀਵਿਟੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਨਵੋਲਵ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ. So from those kind of activities, I found out NCC, ਉਹਦਾ Air Wing unit ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੀਗਾ, it was in our college. And ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਰੋਲ ਮਾਡਲਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਪਰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ. ਮੇਰੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਜ਼ਨ he used to be air cadet, but by that time he already moved to US and I was not very much in touch with him. When I visited my uncle's house and I saw his picture that he was an air cadet and I started inquiring about it And from that day, I started inquiring about like how can I become an air cadet. So college ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਤਾ ਕੀਤਾ, college ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ cadet ਜਦੋਂ opportunity ਆਈ ਉਹਨੂੰ join ਕੀਤਾ. So usually college ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 3 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ opportunity ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਉੱਥੇ. So ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ trainings ਤੇ ਜਾਣ ਦਾ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਦਾ, ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ camps ਤੇ ਜਾਣ ਦਾ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਦਾ. So through air cadets, I had chance to go to different parts of India. The national camps ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, air cadet camps ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, National Republic Day camp ਹੁੰਦਾ. So in the third year of my cadet days, I participated in the National Republic Day Parade. So that was a Golden Jubilee Republic Day Parade of India. And ਉੱਥੇ ਉਸ ਕੈਂਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਕੈਂਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਇੱਕ ਵਰਕ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਸੀ। ਉੱਥੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਟ੍ਰੇਨਿੰਗਸ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ। I got Best Cadet Award over there. And after returning from that national camp, I got awarded by the Governor of Punjab as well. ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ as a cadet.
That's awesome. That's wonderful, because that stood out to me. To the Medekha, like, oh, this has not just happened today. It's been a long time coming. So that paints the picture as well. So thank you for sharing that. Before we get into your current role, I just want to build the foundation. So what I mean by that is your academic career and your academic pursuits. मैं research कर रहा था, तुसी pursue की थी Masters in Public Administration from Guru Nanak Dev University in Amritsar. I just wanted to check and see. Public administration ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਇੰਟਰਸਟ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਗਿਆ, ਕਿਵੇਂ ਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹ ਸਟਾਰਟਿੰਗ ਡੇਜ਼ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕਾਲਜ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਡੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕਰੰਟ ਰੋਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕਾਲਜ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ?
College ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ, you look for different kind of opportunities and roles where you can grow the society and even in the career. After completing the graduation in the public administration side, there were different interests. I was trying for the armed forces also. I was trying for the police forces in India as well. And on the side, I was involved in a lot of social service activities. And through that, I was also preparing myself for the civil services exams. So एक common story ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ college graduate ਦੀ ਕਿ career ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਅਲੱਗ-ਅਲੱਗ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ options ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ. So ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਸ time college ਦੇ time ਸਿੱਖੀ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਐਡਮਿਨਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਐਕਸਟਰਾ ਕਰਿਕੂਲਰ ਐਕਟੀਵਿਟੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਉਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਅੱਜ ਮੇਰੀ ਜੌਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੰਮ ਆ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਉਹ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਸ ਪੁਲਿਸਿੰਗ ਜੌਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਡੇ ਟੂ ਡੇ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਕੰਮ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ, ਉਹੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਅੱਗੇ ਲਿਜਾ ਕੇ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਾਸਟਰਸ ਡਿਗਰੀ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀ when I was preparing for the civil services exam and other police exams. So long story short, during that struggle period when you're looking for career options, tried different options, but destiny brought me here in Canada and for this uniform job.
I guess you were always made for uniform. फिर India छोड़े, फिर पामे थे आके होवे. Destiny made way for you to put up that uniform. Just a quick question, and this is because this has come up recently. Because मेरी काफी बच्चे नाल, new graduates, people who are interested in policing. एक question उन्ना वालों से का, and I wanted to ask you as well. There is a misconception a lot of times ਜਦੋਂ ਲੋਕ policing ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, they're not sure ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ education ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ, whether they need a degree, they need a diploma, a certificate, or just grade 12. So just wanted to check and see, for those who are probably aspiring to be police officers, what is the minimum qualification A they need, and B is if there's a benefit of actually having a better degree, right? If somebody is like, oh, मैं grade 12 ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ join ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ, but ਜੇ ਮੈਂ degree ਲੈ ਕੇ join ਕਰਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਹੋਗਾ ਜਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਸਿੱਧਾ officer rank ਤੇ ਲੱਗ ਸਕਦਾ. Can you walk me through with how that works?
Yeah, so there's so many misconceptions about the policing career here in Canada. ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ recruiting sessions ਜਾਂ ਸਾਡੀਆਂ presentations ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉੱਥੇ same question ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ qualification requirements ਨੇ। ਅਕਸਰ ਲੋਕੀ they compare the policing with the back home policing selection. ਉਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਇਹ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਕੰਟਰੀਜ਼ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ police selection system ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ police hiring system ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ compare ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ। Back home India has a different system. They have different levels of policing, right? In Canada, we have a pretty simple hiring process here that everybody has to start from the same exact level. Doesn't matter if you have grade 12 or you're holder of a PhD degree. So you have to start as a general duty frontline police officer, no matter what's your education. ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮਿਨੀਮਮ ਕੁਆਲੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਮੋਸਟਲੀ ਏਜੰਸੀਜ਼ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਗ੍ਰੇਡ 12 ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਹੈ, ਬਟ most of the candidates ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ they have degrees, they have diplomas as well, they have some specialized trade education also. After minimum education, any education they have, it always helps in their career. ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ ਉਹ grade 12 ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ candidates eligible ਨੇ, but if they have higher education, it's always welcome. ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੋਈ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਖਾਸ advantage ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ they can get to those higher positions directly. ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ. They all have to start at the same level.
That's good to know, because I've gotten that question quite a bit, especially with the last little bit. So I thought I asked the person who would know the answer for sure. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Let's turn over to your career. Your career today, you're working with RCMP, you have many hats, whether that's your investigative officer role, whether that's media relations officer, whether that's recruiting officers. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ breakdown ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ role ਕੀ ਹੈ exactly? What do you do the first thing in your day? What's the breakdown of your day? What comes first? What comes after? What does that look like?
80% of the police force, we are the frontline police officers. मैं ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਹੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ touch ਕਰੂੰਗਾ, and then I'll come to the specific roles, ਜਿਹੜੇ additional roles ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮਿਲੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ. So as a general duty police officer in the RCMP, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ small ਛੋਟੀਆਂ communities ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ, it's shift work. ਅਸੀਂ ਦਿਨ ਦੀ duty ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਅਸੀਂ night duty ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. So typical shift ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ start ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, we go to our detachment. We call our police station as a detachment. In the city police environment, they call it district office. So RCMP detachment ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਵੇਰੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਰੋਲ ਸਟਾਰਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, we get ready, we get our equipment ready. ਜੋ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ we do our daily checklist for our vehicles, for our different paperwork, what we have to keep with us for the rest of the day. And ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਸਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ detachment ਦੇ environment, detachment ਦੇ size ਦੇ accordingly depend ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ there are some detachments which are very small and there's only one or two person on duty. So ਅਗਰ ਉਹ team work ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਗਰ ਦੋ officers ਨੇ, so ਆਪਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ discuss ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ what are the agendas for the day, what are the calls we are going to respond to, what are the tasks assigned to us by our superiors, right? If it's a big detachment, then it starts with a detachment briefing. Briefing ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ detachment watch commanders ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, they give us the briefing for the day or any pass-ons from the previous shift, what things to be done. And these are the things which are apart from our emergency calls, which comes like on the spot and we respond to those. So briefing ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ information ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਸਾਡੇ superiors ਵੱਲੋਂ. ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਕੁਝ admin work ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਸਾਡਾ. ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਕੁਝ case files ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤਿਆਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ paper work ਤਿਆਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ, and those need to be deposited with the admin staff or to the court. So mix of everything, because I've seen your other interviews with other police officers as well, but in those roles, sometimes they have a lot of admin support available in their detachments, right, in the city police environment. But with the RCMP, when somebody's working as a one-man post in a remote detachment, they are the police officers, they are the decision-making authority, they are the community police officers, they are the youth resource officers, school resource officer, they are the administration person. We have multiple hats in one day as a RCMP officer, what we perform on the daily basis. Our shift ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਆਪਣਾ environment ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਆਪਣਾ different tasks ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ. ਇਹ ਸਾਡੀ ਇੱਕ duty ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ daily routine ਦਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਹੈ.
ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ smaller units ਦੱਸ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, detachments ਦੱਸ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਜਿੱਥੇ one man, like one officer ਸਾਰੇ roles ਨਿਭਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹਦਾ ਕੀ threshold ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਤੋਂ smaller community ਉਹ consider ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ?
So it depends. Like I'm working in Alberta right now. So Alberta ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੇਰੀ posting ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੇਰੀ operational posting, it is in a small town ਜਿਹਦੀ population it's under 30,000 people, right? And we are close to a very urban center. ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੇਨ ਅਰਬਨ ਸਿਟੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਕਸੀਮਿਟੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਲਾਗੇ ਹੋਣ ਕਰਕੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਬੈਕਅਪ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਬਾਕੀ ਯੂਨਿਟਸ ਦੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਤਾਂ ਅਵੇਲੇਬਲ ਹੈ. ਬਟ ਅਗਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਛੋਟੀ ਡਿਟੈਚਮੈਂਟ, ਇਫ ਵੀ ਟਾਕ ਅਬਾਊਟ ਆਵਰ ਡਿਟੈਚਮੈਂਟ ਸਟਾਫਿੰਗ, so at a time we are only like 2 or 3 officers working, And during the daytime, we have admin support. And the same way, if I talk about any northern posting, if you go to any northern Alberta posting, sometime in that small satellite detachment, only one officer is working in the shift. But that doesn't mean that he's always alone. He has a backup. He has neighboring detachments, because RCMP covers all over Canada. RCMP covers the small rural settings, some small towns as well, like Red Deer or Airdrie. The cities which don't have their own police service, RCMP does the policing over there. ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ detachments ਨੇ, ਕੁਝ detachments ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ they can be 100 kilometers apart from A to B detachment. ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ time ਉਹ single man posting officers ਨੂੰ ਅਗਰ backup ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਬਾਕੀ ਦੀਆਂ detachment ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ respond ਕਰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ. And kuch detachments ne jehdiyan on call vi hundiyan ne ki officer is always on the duty, always on call. So whenever there is an emergency call, they respond to those calls.
So if I have to ask you, just based on that, and being a police officer, thode understanding the which, what's the toughest part of the job of a police officer?
The toughest part, it depends on person to person, like, because every officer has their own thinking level, but we are all trained equally in the academy. So the tough part is sometimes we have to respond to some of those calls where sometimes it stays in your mind for the rest of your life, right? For example, we see a lot of deaths. We see the dead bodies. We see different domestic calls where we see small children being suffered over there. We attend the accidents, highway crashes. It's part of our job, but kai baar is tarah hunda hai ki like I'm a family man. I have small kids, and if I see a death of a small little child, it leaves a pretty big impact on your mind. So those are the things which are tough for me personally. But as I said, for every officer, the definition of tough time, it's totally different.
100%. So I guess my follow-up question to you on that is then, ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਏਦਾਂ ਦੇ tough situations to ਨਿਕਲਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂ experiences to ਨਿਕਲਦੇ ਹੋ where there is a dead body you have to deal with, domestic violence or whatever may be the case, how do you deal with it after the incident? Because mentally it takes a toll on you. You are a human and you have to go back and perform your job at 100% the very next day or the very next call, right? So ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ life ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ to mentally cope with that and to come out stronger?
For us, it's a part of the duty. It's a part of the job. And we know that we signed up for this kind of duty. And when we return from these kind of calls, like whether it's a death call, whether it's a domestic or any situation, we come and we discuss with our peers, like our fellow officers in the detachment. And sometime you need to clarify a few things. This was the situation. This is the action, what I took. And we ask our superiors as well that, do you think these steps were good? If we need to take some help from superiors or any fellow officers, we take that. If mentally it gives us any impact after a particular situation, we do have peer-to-peer support available in the detachment in our organization. And specifically for last few years, the organizations are identifying the mental health issues after dealing with these kind of situations. For me personally, I go home, I talk to my family. Sometimes there's a few incidents which I can share with my family. This is what I dealt through today. And the family is always there to support. I go home and I talk to my kids. I share some things of that, what I can share. This was the situation. Kids are the honest feedbackers. Other than that, reading books, doing some meditation, that's my coping mechanism, just to get diverted from that kind of situation.
That's really good. And part of why I ask you this question is a lot of times, police officer's job is so easy. That's so good. I just want to paint the picture. It's not all bed of roses. There's more bad days than good days in your profession. And it's how resilient you guys are and how strong you are and what you do to come back even stronger. So that's what I really wanted to highlight. And love the perspective that you are so open to even take feedback from your own kids, because ultimately they will tell you the honest truth of how it should have been and for you to then get and improve yourself the next time around. From here, let's talk a little bit about one of the roles that you are in right now. And this is my focus for our conversation today. And I'll tell you why. It's your role as a recruiting officer. We did a session previously with Sergeant Jaspreet Bajwa from the Ottawa Police Service. And since that session, between the two of us, I think we've received like 600-700 messages. No exaggeration, of people wanting to learn more about policing, wanting to get into the career and get the support and the resources, right? So I wanted to spend some time on this section today because I know you are the perfect person to be able to help us all. So let me start off with this. So navigating the application process, and this is a standard. Doesn't have to be RCMP specific or a unit specific. Let's start off by who should apply for policing. What are some characteristics that a good police officer needs to have in your experience?
First of all, to become a police officer, there are certain basic qualifications which they should be meeting before applying for a particular organization, whether it's a city police, whether it's a national police force. So all those requirements are always available on their websites and all that. When it comes to the selection part, like what kind of personality you should have, what kind of inner psychology you should have. As a police recruiter, what we are looking for is the problem solvers. So we need people who can go in the public, who have a mentality of helping public, going in the community and talking to people, listening to their problems. They should be good listeners. They should be good problem solvers. Of course, they should be intelligent enough to analyze things. So we need analytical minds as well. When it comes to expertise, we need people from different backgrounds, right? It doesn't have to be someone from law enforcement or justice studies background. They can be anyone. Like every education helps. As I explained that in my background education, I don't have any law enforcement or criminal justice studies in my background. When I go in the field and I perform my job day to day, all those qualifications, what I did in the past, life experiences, it helps me to solve different kind of situations. When candidates, specifically those who are young and who are coming from different countries, I specifically touch this part because we have a lot of international students in this country and who come with dreams here, they study here, and they have some career goals. But when they come from other countries, they have a different perception in their mind about policing. Because in different countries, the police is more a scare tactic. Here in Canada, the police is friend of the public, right? We go in the public, we interact with them as a community member. So these are the things which we look for. For specific roles, when we come to investigation side, we need people to pay attention to the details. So when we go to investigation scene, they should have analytical mind. They should see the things in a different way. They should pay attention to the details for the investigation. Each piece of investigation can change the case like upside down. So those are the things which we are looking for. Of course, when they go for their training in the academy, they get training for different kind of investigation stuff and all that. But there's some prerequisites, which I already explained. They should bring those, right? We check those things during their interview process, during their testings and psychological exams. And we make a criteria that these candidates are up to this level and they're eligible to go for the training.
So I made a note of it. So be a good listener, be a good problem solver, have an analytical mind. So those three stand out to me. Jay, asi further gal karni hove us process the. Now I know every department, every unit has their own process which you can find online. But key steps ne. So from the time from application to a physical to an exam, can you give us a walk down or key steps ne from one after the other? And kinna time lagda from end to end? From let's say I'm interested, I make my application today. By the time jab tak result nikluga, let's say I go through the whole process. Oh, kinna time hai? 6 months, 1 year, what are we looking at?
I will talk about my own organization, RCMP. It's a federal organization.
For sure.
We do policing all over Canada. Being a federal organization, RCMP has its own requirements. Those might be a little bit different from the other local agencies or provincial agencies. But the RCMP, everybody starts with an online application. So once they have the basic requirements filled up, they go online on our website and they fill the basic application first. Once it is submitted, it comes to the recruiting unit and then we contact the candidate after a few weeks. We invite them for a presentation which gives them inside knowledge about the whole application process, because the application process itself is a year-long process. So in the presentation, we explain them about every step, like the written exam, the interviews, the psychological test, psych interviews, medical assessment examinations, security checks, and the polygraph test. So all these details are explained to them in the presentation, and they have a chance to ask one-to-one questions from police officers. Sometimes those presentations are in person and sometimes they're online as well. But ਇਹਨਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟਸ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਡਾਊਟਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਹੈ ਲਾਈਕ ਯੂ ਆਰ ਆਸਕਿੰਗ ਮੀ ਰਾਈਟ ਡਾਊਟਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਦੇ ਔਨ ਦਾ ਸਪੌਟ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਐਂਡ ਈਵਨ ਥਰੂ ਆਊਟ ਦਾ ਐਪਲੀਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਦੀ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਡਾਊਟ ਹੋਵੇ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਕਿਸੇ ਸਟੈਪ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਹੈਲਪ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਸੋ ਉਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਰੀਚ ਆਊਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਐਂਡ ਵੀ ਹੈਲਪ them. So that's the presentation part. After presentation, they get invitation to write an exam, which is a RCMP assessment exam. Basic policing the exam, most of the agencies have a similar setup of exam. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਂ for local agencies or RCMP, but it's a similar nature of exam. ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਤੁਹਾਡੀਆਂ basic ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ mathematical skills ਨੇ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀਆਂ English skills ਨੇ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀਆਂ analytical and reasoning skills ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ check ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ. So once they pass that exam, they are put in a queue and they get assigned with a personal recruiting analyst. That's the person who will be assessing that applicant's application throughout the process, right? They will be the connection for the candidate with RCMP. They are the person of contact. So at any point, candidates have any question about any forms, they reach out to them. And those recruiting analysts, they send them packages. There's some detailed forms they have to fill up. So they guide them what to fill, how to submit those forms to the RCMP. So ਜਦੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਫਾਰਮਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਫਿਲ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ then they receive calls for the interview. So ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਹਿਲੇ 3 ਸਟੈਪ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ it may take 4 to 6 months. So once they submit those forms, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬੇਸਿਸ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ 2 ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ for RCMP. The first interview is a right fit interview and the second interview is on the basis of their information which they disclosed on the forms, right? So those are called RMAC, a regular member assessment questionnaire. ਉਹ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਟੈਲੀਫੋਨਿਕ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਇਨ ਪਰਸਨ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ and on teams ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਸੋ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਟਿਪਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਪ੍ਰੈਜੈਂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਹੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟਸ ਨੂੰ and sometime they can reach out to a local recruiting unit like where I'm working right now and they can take some guidance from us what are the things which we are looking for what things you need to be careful in the interview so ਉਹ interview stage ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ then they have a medical assessment stage and medical assessment stage is in another 3 parts. So ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ physical examination ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ RCMP ਦੇ medical examiner ਵੱਲੋਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਅਗਰ ਕੋਈ detailed medical information ਚਾਹੀਦੀ they can be referred to specialists as well. Then they have a psychological test. So psych test ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ ਉਹ it can be pretty lengthy exam. It's not a pass-fail exam. It's more about their personality. Like how do the candidate think about different situations and how do they respond to those situations. So psych test, it can be like 400 or 500 questions which they have to do within a couple of hours, right? So by the end of the exam, usually your mind is totally fried and you can't think anything, right? And in that psych exam, some of the questions, they come repeatedly. Some of the questions, they come 10 times. So they have a way of getting your actual personality out in the exam. At some point, you will end up giving your actual personality, no matter how much you try to hide yourself. Following the test, there is a psych interview. So the psychologists take the interview on the basis of their written exam. If they have any doubt, they can ask, they can clarify from the candidate about giving a similar kind of situation. That's the medical assessment part, psych assessment, and at the end, we do the lengthy security check. RCMP requires level 2 secret security check, so that takes time. So from start to end, like until they finish their security check, it can take about a year of their life.
Wow. So you better be determined that's what you want to do.
Yeah. And usually candidates, when they come to me and they ask me like, oh yeah, we are not eligible yet. What are the things which we should keep in mind before we even start our application process? And I usually tell them like, you're choosing a unique career. You have to go in the community and you have to be an example. You have to be the role model for the youth and the rest of the community. So you have to start living the same way before you even apply. You have to volunteer with the organizations. You can choose any organization in your local area. It doesn't have to be a particular one. It doesn't have to be a police organization. You can work in a community center. You can work in a gurdwara or mandir or masjid. The purpose is to interact with the public, to serve the community, to talk to people and understand their problems on the daily basis. This is what our main job is. So this is what they need to start living before they even apply.
Very well explained. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ areas cover ਕੀਤੇ ਨੇ. I just have a few questions on that, and this is because I've gotten these questions from others as well. So first thing, there's a physical assessment, and then there's a physical exam, the physical fitness test. What does the physical fitness test entails? Because a lot of time people are like very scared about what this physical fitness test is going to be and what they're going to be doing. Can you give us a little bit of an example of what that entails?
So physical fitness, of course, we need fit people. We don't make people fit in the academy. We need fit people who we can make the police officers. So physical fitness testing, candidates can prepare themselves while they are in the application process. Some candidates start preparing way before, or some people start during the application process. So every police agency has their own physical testing criteria. For the local agencies, there's a test name, it's called PAIR. And for RCMP, we have developed our own testing system, our own physical testing, which is called Police Officers Fitness Assessment, or for short form, I can say it's called PFA. So there are certain videos available. There's all the details are available on our RCMP Careers website, where they can take some guidance. There's a step-by-step information given on the website that what we are looking for in terms of cardio fitness, in terms of their strength, in terms of their flexibility movements. So that test actually happens in our academy once they get selected to go for the training. But in the meantime, candidates can do their self-testing by following the criteria, which is given on our website and on the PFA video. For example, छोटा जा मैं example दे देना कि एक किस तरह अपने आप को टेस्ट कर सकते हैं. If a candidate is able to run about 5 kilometers without stopping on a hard surface within 5 minutes, it gives us some information that that candidate's cardio is somewhat fit, right? And once they go in the training, they further improve because we have our own physical trainings over there. Somebody should be able to make a certain number of push-ups. So male and female, they have a little bit different of the number of push-ups, but for the male candidates, the standard is if you can do about 25 push-ups without stopping, and as per the RCMP standards, not different gym standards. So we have our own push-up standard. So as per those, if they can complete 25 push-ups, they're somewhat fit, right? There's some obstacle requirements. They have to do some stair runs. They have to pick up some weights. If a candidate can pick up about 75 to 90 pounds and move for a certain distance and load it in a car or a truck, they can self-test those things while they are in the application process. Eight छोटी 3-4 examples सिगियां, but if any candidate wants to go in detail and get those criterias to the point, they have to check our website and they can see those, or they can approach us.
Thank you for sharing that, because that's one of the questions that I've gotten quite a bit. And then the second question that I had just along the lines, let's say somebody migrates to Canada at not a young age, but let's say, and I give you a hypothetical example, at 35 years old. They still want to be part of the law enforcement and the policing system. Is that too late for them to join? What's the cutoff?
We have candidates from different age groups. The minimum age to join the RCMP is 18. Like to apply for the RCMP, they have to be 19 by the time they graduate. There's no upper age limit in Canada for any agency. I can speak about other agencies as well, that in policing here, there's no upper age limit. We basically prefer life experience. We look at their experience, like what fields they are coming from. They're bringing some experience to us. So age is not a limit here in Canada. I myself joined RCMP when I was 38. So I moved to this country when I was already 30. I had about 8+ years of experience working in different industries. So when I moved to this country, this was something was always in the back of my mind, that I want to be a police officer. And I can say that many people come from India. They they have this kind of dream, like policing or uniform is somewhere, somewhat in somebody's mind always, especially coming from our background, being from North India or Punjab. Uniform de vich aa jiye, ek fascination hundi hai. Same when I came to this country, it was in the back of my mind, and I attended information session for the city police service, and they told me, no, you have to be in this country for certain years, right? Then I waited for a few years. Then I made my mind that I don't want to go for the city police, but I want to go for the National Police Service. And for that, the requirement at that time was citizenship. So I had to wait for another 2-3 years so I can get my citizenship and then apply. So in total, like, I waited for 7 years. So similarly, candidates who come from different other countries, they have to be patient. Sometimes there are some requirements for which they have to wait for a certain period. But the point for them is that they should start preparing themselves. If they're focused, if they really want to come into this job, they have to start preparing from day number one. They can do whatever job they want. They can do whatever education they want to do in the meantime, but they should keep focused in one direction, that, yeah, this is my end goal and I want to go to this direction. So age is not a limit. My oldest troopmate when I was in training was 54-year-old.
Wow, no, that is crazy.
So you have to be physically fit. You have to be mentally fit. You have to be able to do our training in the academy. ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੇ, ਇਹ 3-4 ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੇ, if they can do those things and they have passion for the uniform and go serve in the public, there's no bar, there's no age bar here.
That's really fantastic. I'm glad that we actually covered this topic, because ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ new immigrant ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ and you're past a certain age, your first mindset is, oh, I'm too old for this job. Maybe they only want young people. So like knowing your own personal story, I think it would help a lot of people knowing that they still have time to be able to do this if they want to do this. So thank you for sharing that. ਤੁਹਾਡੇ career ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, and ਤੁਹਾਡਾ career, all your time you spent in India to the time you are doing right now, what would you categorize ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ highest point ਤੁਹਾਡੀ life ਦਾ, ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਸਿੱਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਮਿਲਿਆ?
When you're growing up, you learn at every stage of your education, your college level, your university level, or school level, or any job you do. हर step ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਸਿੱਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ, and ਉਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਾਫੀ steps ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੇਰੀ life ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਆਏ ਨੇ. ਕਾਲਜ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਸਿੱਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਿਆ, ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਅੱਛੇ ਮੈਂਟਰਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਮਿਲੇ. ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਾਹਰ ਇੰਟਰੈਕਟ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ, ਆਪਣੇ ਹੋਮ ਸਿਟੀ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਸਿੱਖਣ ਦਾ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ, ਐਕਸਪਲੋਰ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ. When I went out of India, like when I went for my aviation training in US, ਉੱਥੇ ਇੱਕ different culture ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਿੱਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਿਆ, ਉੱਥੋਂ business skills ਸਿੱਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲੀਆਂ. So even like ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਿੱਖ ਜੁੜਦਾ, so Sikh means a learner. So the basic principle behind that is like we learn from every moment of life. The biggest thing which I learned after coming to Canada, that if you want to do something and if you have a passion for something, nobody can stop you. You need to have a self-motivation in you first, right? Other people will motivate you, but until you are self-motivated, you won't be able to achieve your goals. So self-motivation is the biggest learning of my life. From college level, from any jobs that I did in the past, and even in the present job. Even if you have to grow within your own profile, you have to be self-motivated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that's a great lesson for anyone, a new immigrant or anyone starting with their career, to take up, is to learn on their own and be self-motivated. ਆਪਾਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ next role ਵੱਲ, which is your EDI, Equity, Diversity and Inclusion, serving in the K unit, being a member of that. Equity, diversity and inclusion, I feel like this is a buzzword these days. Everybody is focused on that. Everybody is super hyped up on that. Thode apne role de vich, what does it mean? And what does it mean when you're working with the public? How does that fit into it?
First of all, Canada is a multicultural environment. Everybody comes from a different country, different continent. तो आए ने लोग इत्थे बसे हुए ने. कुछ लोग जड़े ने वो कुछ decades ਪਹਿਲੋਂ ਆਏ ਨੇ, ਕੁਝ a century ਪਹਿਲੋਂ ਆਏ ਨੇ, ਕੁਝ maybe 1.5 century ਪਹਿਲੋਂ ਆਏ ਨੇ, and ਕੁਝ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ recently ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ. ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, but like specifically when I'm talking about my job, we deal with the whole world. We are in Canada, but we are dealing with the whole world. So we need to know about different cultures. We need to know about different ethnicities. People come from different countries, different religions, different traditional backgrounds. On the daily basis, when we work as a frontline police officer, if we don't know about a particular culture and we end up going to their house to respond to a call, we may end up doing some things which may not be liked by that particular community, or sometimes it is a respect point of view, sometimes it's the problem solving point of view as well. So EDI outside of the organization, it has a different meaning, and within the organization, it has a different meaning. Outside of the organization is like how we deal with the public, what kind of cultural knowledge we have, what kind of information we share with each other, and how we can solve their problems by understanding their tradition and also implementing our country's law. Within the organization, because now we have officers from different ethnicities, ਜਦੋਂ officers ਕਿਸੇ small community ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, for example, ਮੇਰੀ ਪਹਿਲੀ posting ਸੀਗੀ Lloydminster, Alberta, which is a little bit rough town, and it is in the northern Alberta. And I went there, and the people of that city, they never saw a police officer wearing a turban. And within the detachment, officers knew about it, but even sometime within the organization, they get confused or they don't have the full awareness or knowledge about it. Turban has been there in the RCMP since 1990 from Baltet Singh Tillo. But even today, there are some cities, some areas where people are still not aware about the turban or about our culture. I had a little bit of bad experience over there when people started asking me or even commenting on social media by putting my picture on it. Equity diversity kicks in at that point where, as an officer, we have to go in the community and we have to educate the community and our fellow officers about your own culture. And the same way, we educate ourselves by asking other people's culture and their background. So this is where our organizations nowadays are taking this serious, because we are hiring people from all different backgrounds, right? We need to create a healthy environment, healthy workplace environment where we have to respect everybody's culture. So it is possible when the organizations and personally the people who are working in the organization, they take this approach very positively. EDI group in the RCMP, where I'm performing my role as a member, is formed by the K Division commanding officer, and there are members from different communities, there are different ethnicities and cultures, and we have our meetings, we share our problems, we give our ideas, how we can bring those things in the different communities and how we can educate force members about different cultures. So that's the initiative, and that's my role, just like other EDI members.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And I think there's a lot of need to just be cognizant of the fact that there are people from other cultures, communities, ethnicities, different beliefs that exist around you, right? So whether that's in your working environment, whether that's out in the community. And once we have the awareness and then the realization to work around it, I think it's going to help all of us. Totally on board with that. You touched on a very hard moment, let's say, in your life when you were the first turbaned officer in Lloydminster. I can't imagine it being easy trying to tell other people, I'm part of this community, I'm part of the group. If I have to ask you along the same line, thodi life de vich ya thode career de vich koi edda da point which was like a low point for you, or the lowest point you would consider, where you were like, main kithe fas gaya hai na, like why it's happening to me? Any moment like that, and what did you learn from it, and how did you overcome that?
It happened a few times in my life. First, it happened when I moved out of India to US, and I was in California, and I was in a small town where I was doing my aviation training. And even the school setup, it was not something which was totally out or unfamiliar for me. It was managed and owned by my own cousin. But ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਉੱਥੇ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ environment ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ I'm wearing turban and I'm in the aviation industry, and specifically 2001 ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ incident ਸੀਗਾ 9/11. I won't go in too much details of that incident, but after coming to Canada, friendly environment ਸੀਗਾ first posting ਤੇ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਮੈਂਟਸ ਪਾਣੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੇ and people ask you and sometimes you like they make comment on your face ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮੂੰਹ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਕੁਝ ਬੋਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ so ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਥੋੜਾ confusion ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ how do I respond to these kind of because I never been through those kind of things back in India right ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉੱਥੇ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਦੇਸ਼ ਆ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਇੱਕੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਉਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਲੋਕ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ as an opportunity we need to make them aware we need to show them like what's our contribution for this country and for the rest of the world study background ki hai study history ki hai so even like when I go for any recruiting information sessions I do presentations in different public events also people come to me and they start asking me question about my turban like explain us about what are you wearing and I take this as an opportunity to educate them it starts with the turban but it gives me a chance to explain about my history I give them explanation about our contribution in the First and Second World War how we fought in the Allied forces when it was British Indian Army how we are part of different law enforcement agencies all over the world and how we are part of the different military organizations all over the world, right? And what's our motto? What's the goal for our community? How we serve? What are the principles behind it? Why this community was created, right? The role we are doing in this uniform, basically the community is created to stand for justice, stand for public, and serve in the community. So even if we are not in the police service, we are just following our own religious principles or our community principles, we are performing the same role what a police officer does. Why not they come into the service and just do the service, what you've been assigned to do, but you're wearing a uniform for one of the organization here. That gives me an opportunity to explain to people. It has eventually become my high moment of life. It excites me when people ask me the question about my appearance, about my background. And when they leave after that conversation, I can see a different impression on their face. I can hear a different tone of voice, and I can feel the respect in their mind as well. So this is what we need to do collectively when we go in the community. And this is a message for all the young generation as well, that do not hesitate. Keep your looks, keep your appearance, what you have. All you need to do is educate people. And this is how we're going to serve in the community. And the people need to get used to see us in those small communities.
A lot of times ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੋਈ bad moment ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ somebody questions you go down the negative path or ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਉਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾਂ like why me and all those questions but then on your end to look at it as an opportunity ਕਿ like okay ਇੱਥੇ opportunity ਕੀ ਹੈ maybe ਅਸੀਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਸਿਖਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ maybe ਅਸੀਂ awareness create ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ and to be okay in your skin and still spreading that message I think it's wonderful and I think we need as you said ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ not just with our community with every community be accepting of everybody try to learn who they are try to learn their beliefs and cultures because we have our own and others have their own as well so it's wonderful I love that story on that note let's go back in time ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜੰਪਲ ਇੰਡੀਆ 'ਚ ਹੈ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਹੈ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਦਾ ਡਾਇਨਾਮਿਕ ਸੀਗਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਘਰ 'ਚ ਵੱਡੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋਏ the goods the bads what was it like
I'm from a very normal family a middle class family ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਆ if I talk about my ancestry, my grandfather was a social servant. He was a freedom fighter for the Indian freedom struggle. Yeah. And he was a person who I look up to. I never met him. I never saw him. He passed away many years before I was born. But I heard stories about his contribution towards the community. Oh, community vaste unhone ki kuch kita. He was in the politics as well, but he left politics and dedicated his whole life for the community service. And when I go to my hometown, where I was born in Turbaned, which is a city near Amritsar, now it's a district. Sada pind actually Mano Chala jitho mere dada ji ne, but I was born in Turbaned. So Turbaned jadon matlab janam uthe hoya par main bachpan bahut thoda bitaya I was very small and then mere father government service de vich sige he was a pharmacist with the Punjab Health Department and ਜਿੱਥੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਫਰ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਰਹੀ we went the family setup ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਾਇਆ ਜੀ ਸੀਗੇ ਦੋ they are retired from the Indian Armed Forces Air Force and Army ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ so ਇੱਕ normal ਜਿਹੜਾ household environment ਇਹ ਸੀਗਾ mother, she taught for some time in a school, but again, she left her job and dedicated her whole life for the family, ਸਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ। ਸੋ ਇੱਕ ਨਾਰਮਲ ਅਪਬ੍ਰਿੰਗਿੰਗ ਹੋਈ ਆ। ਮੈਂ ਪਿੰਡ ਦੇ ਸਕੂਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ। ਪਿੰਡ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਇਮਰੀ ਸਕੂਲ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਮੀਡੀਅਮ ਸਕੂਲ ਨੇ, I went to Christian school also। ਇੱਥੇ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਫਰ ਫਾਦਰ ਦੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਰਹੀ ਆ, ਉਹ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਐਨਵਾਇਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਦਾ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਦੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਿਆ। ਐਂਡ ਸਪੈਸੀਫਿਕਲੀ when I was going through my elementary and middle school education, I've seen a lot of things. Like I'm from a generation who knows about the old traditional stuff, and we are entering in the modern society as well. So when I talk about those things about village, fattiyan te likh de rahe hain kalma de naal, and kids nowadays they don't understand that। ਮਤਲਬ ਇੱਕ ਪੇਂਡੂ এনवायरमेंट ਤੋਂ ਨਿਕਲ ਕੇ ਇੱਕ ਅਰਬਨ এনवायरमेंट ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੈੱਟ ਹੋਣਾ, ਇੱਕ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਮੀਡੀਅਮ ਸਕੂਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਨਿਕਲ ਕੇ ਇੱਕ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਮੀਡੀਅਮ ਸਕੂਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੜ੍ਹਨਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਐਂਡ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਅਪਸ ਐਂਡ ਡਾਊਨਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੇਖੇ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਸਕੂਲ ਦੀ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਸੀਗੀ। ਦਿਸ ਵਾਜ਼ ਮਾਈ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ। ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਕਾਲਜ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗਏ, ਖਾਲਸਾ ਕਾਲਜ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੇਰੀ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ, ਐਂਡ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਕਾਲਜ ਹੈਜ਼ ਅ ਬਿਗ ਕੰਟਰੀਬਿਊਸ਼ਨ in my life, in my personality change, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉੱਥੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਸਿੱਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਿਆ। ਉੱਥੋਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਟ੍ਰੈਡੀਸ਼ਨ ਬਾਰੇ ਸਿੱਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਿਆ, ਉੱਥੋਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਪਰਸਨੈਲਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਡਿਵੈਲਪ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ। ਉੱਥੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀਆਂ ਐਕਟੀਵਿਟੀਜ਼, ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਟਾਰਟਿੰਗ ਤੋਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ। ਸੋ ਇੱਕ ਨਾਰਮਲ ਅਪਬ੍ਰਿੰਗਿੰਗ ਹੋਈ ਆ, ਕੋਈ ਹਾਈ ਫਾਈ ਸਟੋਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਸ ਇਹਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ।
Yeah, it's the normal stories that make up for the best stories. So, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਕਾਲਜ ਪੜ੍ਹੇ, ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ I think you went to US first before you came to Canada. So you see US kadon gaye? I know you were doing aviation. What was that time like, and when did you actually come to Canada?
So I'll go a little bit back before I go to US, where when I was in Khalsa College, Amritsar, I was air cadet, I told you, right? Those times, when you were air cadet, Air Force join kara, yeah, but possible nahi ho sakya because of objects sige meri graduation degree de vich, they were different than the requirements of the Indian Air Force flying branch de vich jaan waste. So ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਆਪਣੀ ਸਟੱਡੀ ਕੰਟੀਨਿਊ ਰੱਖੀ। I did different, when I was going through my master degree, writing different competition exams। ਉਸ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਮਾਸ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ, ਜਰਨਲਿਜ਼ਮ ਦੀ ਡਿਗਰੀ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਨਾਲ। And at one point, I got a chance to go to US when my cousin started his flight school. He was already there in US and he was a flight instructor, and he asked me कि तू flying करनी है, तेरा अजय भी करने दिल करदा है? So why not? So he started a flight school, and he needed some help in the flight school administration and management. And he asked me, yeah, you can come over here as a student and you can learn fly and you can help me in the flight school as well. So this is how I went to US. Flying kiti and flying throughout from scratch to all the way commercial pilot license jada ਉਹ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੀਤਾ, ਨਾਲ school ਨੂੰ manage ਵੀ ਕੀਤਾ। And what I'm doing as a RCMP officer right now, recruiting. And at that time, my job was to go to different countries and get the students, recruit the students for aviation training from different countries. So all those experiences are coming in place in this job as well. So ਉੱਥੇ aviation ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ training ਕੀਤੀ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਖਰਾ experience ਸੀਗਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਨਾਲ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ। I'm still an active pilot. I have a Canadian license also. So ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨਾਲ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ।
That's perfect. So what year did you go to US and what year did you come to Canada?
I went to US in 2005, and in 2007 I left US and I went back to India, because in 2007 there were circumstances where I had to go back to India. And over there, I tried in the aviation sector. I tried looking for jobs in the aviation sector, and there's certain requirements over there you have to complete before you join the industry over there. I did those things, all the exams and the requirements, but by the time those requirements were completed, the aviation industry was a little bit down at that time, and I could not actively go into the aviation industry. Same time, I met my present wife. She's also from the aviation industry. She used to work for the airlines, and it's a long story, but we got married, and then we were thinking, what are we gonna do? Like, where is our future? So we decided that we're gonna choose Canada as our settlement, like where we're gonna go eventually. So I came to Canada on the point-based system in the flight instructors category.
That's perfect. I have a fascination for airplanes and flying. I don't like to be a passenger, but I think I would love to be a pilot. And I always think about it. So just a quick question on that personal level. What would you suggest to someone who wants to be a pilot? What are the do's and don'ts? Just quickly.
Every country has its own different criteria to get into the aviation industry. I will specifically talk from the Canadian and US point of view, and I can tell you about the Indian requirements as well. If somebody wants to become a pilot here, especially in the commercial aviation industry or general aviation industry, they can start as early as they're 16. So they can start learning to fly as a student pilot at any flying club or any flight school locally available. All they have to do is they have to go through a aviation medical, and they can sign up for their lessons. And there are some college diplomas and programs as well. There are certain colleges and universities who have their designed diploma courses along with the aviation training and the study part. But if somebody just wants to become simply a pilot without any diploma, it is possible. All they have to do is they have to be fit as per the aviation medical standards, and they sign up for the lessons. They have to pass aviation written exams as per the requirements of Transport Canada. And there's certain hours requirement ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ flying hours ਦੀ requirement ਉਹ ਪੂਰੀ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਦੇ maneuvers ਸਿੱਖਣੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ certain testing standards ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਪਾਸ ਕਰਨੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ and there are different steps. So first step is obviously it's a private pilot license. Or a private pilot license like they get opportunity to work towards their commercial licensing. And commercial license ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ certain hours requirements ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ. They have to complete certain commercial testing standards as well. So ਹਰ stage ਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ flight tests ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਹਰ stage ਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ written exams ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, and ਹਰ stage ਦੀਆਂ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ hours requirements ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ. ਇੱਕ commercial pilot ਬਣਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ basically somebody needs to fly minimum 200 hours in Canada or US. So specific standards ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਿਹਦੇ accordingly 250 hours ਦੀ requirement ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ, different extra stages ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ. So basic commercial license it makes someone eligible to choose their path towards the aviation industry, where they want to go, whether they want to stick with the general aviation, whether they want to go to the teaching side as a flight instructor, they have to do further course for that, or they want to go to the airline industry or the corporate sector. For that, they have to further fly and build their hour bank, and they have to pass the next level exam, which is called ATPL, which is Airline Transport Pilot License. These are the things.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. During your time being a pilot, what was your most favorite moment being in a plane? Where were you? What were you seeing?
Every flight is different. Every flight is a learning environment. So right from your day number one, when you do your first lesson with your instructor, as soon as your wheels lift off from the ground, it's a different feeling.
Yeah.
It feels like kitanu khamba lag gaye hunde. Right? So when you go in the air, you learn different maneuvers, different movements of the airplane. You feel the machine. You feel the airplane like your own wings. And specifically when you go into the clouds, it's a totally different environment. There is a say that once you taste the flight as a pilot, you always want to go back again and again. Right? It's a bug. Once you start flying, this will stay with you for rest of your life. It's a totally different feeling. I can't explain it to you. You have to feel it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And as I said, I've always had this fascination towards flying. Yeah. So maybe one day I will opt in and maybe I can do that. And maybe you can guide me through that.
Yeah, and I also want to mention you that I have been out of flying for so many years in between because of family life, choosing different career and life struggle as a new immigrant here. But it was always just like policing dream was something which I wanted to do, but this was something which I already did, but I was not active. And it always bugged me every moment, every minute of my life, like why I'm not flying, why I'm not flying in the airplane, right? It's not that like I want to go for the airline industry and fly for the airlines. It's like I want to go up in the air, right? So once I was comfortable, settled in this career as a police officer, I again started now I need to get back to the aviation industry again. So started working on it, did my flight reviews and cleared the exams here in Canada as well. And I'm back active again. I'm more regular in flying now. I do get a chance to sometime go on the forced plane as well whenever they need to, but RCMP pilots are mostly or civilian pilots. They are not the sworn police officers. Whenever I get a chance, I go. I'm also a volunteer instructor with the Air Cadets in Canada. So that also gives me a chance to fly with them. So I'm using my experience, my studies to share with the students who are in the teenager group who are pursuing their career towards the aviation. So I'm sharing my experience with them.
That's awesome, and kudos to you for doing that. If you ever need passengers, let me know, because I'd be free to jump on that airplane for sure.
Yeah, you have to come to Calgary for that.
Yeah, oh, I'll come for a free plane. I'll come to wherever. Just on a personal level, in your day-to-day, you have a busy job. There's a lot of roles and duties that you have. ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਾਂ ਕੰਮ ਬਾਰੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੋਚ ਰਹੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ, how do you stay fresh? What do you do in your day to keep yourself at your top game?
Nowadays, I'm pretty busy because sometimes I have to do presentations and sessions and guidance sessions on the weekends as well. But just on the side note, when I'm off, spending time with the family, staying home, that's my best moment. Sometimes, like, people want to go out. I love to stay home. I love to maintain my house. That's one of my favorite pastime. Other than that, I do book reading as well. I have my own mini library in the house, interacting with kids. And also, as I mentioned, that I volunteer with the Air Cadets. So on my off time, I go to the Air Cadets unit and observe their classes, guide them about different aviation stuff. Traveling is also one of that, but that's something which we have to get time together as a family. But again, book reading is one of my favorite hobby, which if I'm sitting home alone and I have nothing else to do, I'm not maintaining my house, I pick up a book and read. Yeah.
So quick question on that, because I love to read. I have a mini library. I'm trying to make it like a massive library, but maybe it's your favorite book, maybe a book you would like everybody to read. There
are a few books. My favorite set of books is basically the biographies of the military generals. I already mentioned those names to you. There are actually more than those names. But I love to read the biographies of the military generals because, first of all, I'm in the uniform and I want to learn from a uniform person. It's a different perspective of life. It's a different way of life when you're in the uniform. And learning from their experience, it gives you leadership skills. It gives you further specific competencies which you want to achieve in your own career. Biographies, some books which helps me to improve my own personality, like my psych development or my mental development books on the
Is there a particular book around self-development or personality development that comes to mind?
I recently actually came through this book a few months ago. I learned about this and I bought it, and I recommend this book to everyone, especially the young children who are going through the personality development and education. It's called the Silva Mind Control Method. The most important part about this book is you have to read it a few times to totally implement on your life. And it shows you in the preface, it actually tells you the method of reading that book first, that how you should read this book, right? You read the book, just read it in a flow, and you start the reading second time, then you will start understanding each chapter and its meaning. And once you start reading the third time, then you start implementing that on your own life. So it needs a kind of dedication.
Yeah. Very cool. I'll be sure to check that out. My next question is, je tusi billboard de utte puri, let's say Canada de dekhan lai koi message rakhna hove, what would your message be saren lai te kyu?
Message for Canadians: we are the multicultural communities. I can tell from my own perspective the things which we learned from our ancestors' stories, or ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਦਾਦੀਆਂ ਨਾਨੀਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਕਹਾਣੀਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, and what we learned from our culture, what we learned from our like icons ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇੱਕ ਟੈਗ ਲਾਈਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਆ. Actually, there are two of them, but I can share both of them. So first tagline is कि शुभ कर्मन ते कबहू ना डरो. चंगा काम ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਕਦੀ ਵੀ ਡਰਨਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ. ਸੋ ਉਹੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਹੌਸਲਾ ਦਿੰਦੀ ਆ। ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਬਿਲਬੋਰਡ ਟੈਗਲਾਈਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਮੇਰੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਕਾਮਨ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਆ ਸਾਰੀ ਹਿਊਮੈਨਿਟੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਸਾਰੀ doesn't matter what religion you belong to, what community or ethnicity you belong to, it's a common message ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਚੰਗਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੀੜਾ ਚੁੱਕ ਲਿਆ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੋਂ ਕਦੀ ਡਰਨਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। You have to go for it. You're going for a good work, right? And ਜਿਹੜੀ ਦੂਸਰੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਆਪਣੀ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਇਨਸਾਨੀਅਤ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆ, ਸਰਬੱਤ ਦਾ ਭਲਾ, ਕਿ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਭਲਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਨਾ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਪਰਟੀਕੂਲਰ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਪਰਸਨ ਦਾ। ਸੋ this is my message. I don't know if it will go on the billboard or something, but this is what the message which I share with my fellow workers, which I share with the cadets where I go to, and the community places wherever I go to.
Yeah, that's a wonderful message as well. And I think what's the most beautiful thing about this message is a message 500 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ relevant ਸੀਗਾ, ਅੱਜ ਵੀ relevant ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਤੋਂ 500 ਸਾਲ ਬਾਅਦ ਵੀ relevant ਰਹੂਗਾ. And I think that's really the beauty of our literature and our teachings given to us by our gurus. ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ 20 ਸਾਲਾ ਜਸਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਸਲਾਹ ਦੇਣੀ ਹੋਵੇ based on your life experiences, on your understanding, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਸਲਾਹ ਦੋਗੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਕਿਉਂ?
Salah, I don't know what to give, but ek wish jehdi hundi hai, I wish I could have been in the uniform way earlier. Like I joined this force very late. Of course, I had to complete some requirements and wait for it, but I wish I was in this role and uniform way before. I may have missed a lot of things in my life when going through the life struggle and education, going through different career experiences. But ਹਰ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਤੇ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਸਿੱਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਿਆ। ਉਹ ਅੱਜ ਇਸ ਜੌਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ, ਇਸ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਪ੍ਰੋਫਾਈਲ ਹੈ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ। ਸੋ my young self, like if I see myself like 20 years back and sitting in front of me, I would give the same message, like don't stop learning, learn from every moment and work towards your goal. And if something is in your destiny, it will come. There's a place, there's a time for everything, but keep working on it. Don't forget about your end goal.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't have said it better, sir. Jada sada show hai, it's catered towards immigrant population, more specifically South Asian population. Jidi immigration numbers ne, they are at their highest over the last couple of years and they're only increasing. ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ newcomers ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਣੀ population ਇੱਧਰ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕੀ advice ਹੋਗੀ based on what you have seen out there? What do you want to tell them, a message if you want to leave them with?
There are a few messages which I want to give it to the young generation, because I have observed a lot of things while working as a frontline police officer. And ਪਿਛਲੇ ਕੁਝ ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ young crowd ਜਾਂ students population ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, even like new immigrants ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਆਪਣੇ parents ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਬੱਚੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, so ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡਾ message ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ take your education very seriously. ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ, ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਰਟ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ ਉਹ ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਕਈ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ, ਕਈ ਫੈਮਲੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਉਹ ਮਿਸਿੰਗ ਆ। ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟ ਫੈਮਲੀਜ਼ ਵੀ ਆਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਡੇ ਟੂ ਡੇ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਿਜ਼ੀ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਐਂਡ ਐਟ ਸਮ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਐਕਟੀਵਿਟੀਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਇਗਨੋਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੱਕ ਕਨੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਟੁੱਟ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਜਾਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਨੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਟੁੱਟ ਜਾਂਦਾ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਆ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਨਾਟ ਓਨਲੀ ਫॉर ਦ ਯੰਗ ਜਨਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਬਟ ਈਵਨ ਫॉर ਦ ਓਲਡਰ ਜਨਰੇਸ਼ਨ, ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਰੂਟਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਨ ਟੱਚ ਰਹੋ, ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਰੂਟਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਰੂਟਸ, ਸਾਡਾ ਟ੍ਰੈਡੀਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਟਸ ਵੈਰੀ ਰਿਚ, ਅਸੀਂ ਬੜੇ ਰਿਚ ਕਲਚਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਆਏ ਆ। ਉਸ ਰਿਚ ਕਲਚਰ ਨੂੰ ਭੁੱਲਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਚੱਲਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਜੂਕੇਟ ਵੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੀ ਲੈਂਗੁਏਜ ਸਕਿੱਲਸ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਦੇਣੀਆਂ ਚਾਹੀਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਡੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਿਚਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ the more you know about your own culture, the more you can educate other people. If you don't know about your own culture and roots, you are not able to educate other people. So ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਹੈ, ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ that is very important. ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਯੰਗ ਜਨਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ sports wale paase jana chahida, fitness wale paase jana chahida. This will keep them away from the drugs and ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ ਆਦਤਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਦੂਰ ਰਹਿਣਗੇ। ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਇੰਟਰਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਸ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਹੈ ਕਿ you will get somewhere in your life, right? Once you complete your education, once you have experience and understanding of this country, is country the culture ਬਾਰੇ, ਇਥੋਂ ਦੇ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਬਾਰੇ, ਸੋ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਸਮਝੋ। ਸਪੋਰਟਸ ਕਾਰਾਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਚ ਵੀ ਆ ਜਾਣਗੀਆਂ, ਘਰ ਬਾਅਦ ਚ ਵੀ ਲਏ ਜਾਣਗੇ, ਪੈਸਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੀ ਉਮਰ ਕਮਾਉਣਾ, ਪਰ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਡੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੁਝ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੇ ਇਥੋਂ ਦੇ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਦਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਬਣ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, that will be your biggest achievement. ਜਦੋਂ ਤੱਕ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੁਝ ਅਚੀਵ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ, just keep working towards your goal. ਨੈਗੇਟਿਵਿਟੀ ਤੋਂ ਦੂਰ ਰਹੋ, ਆਪਣੀ watch your company, friend circle ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੋਂ ਦੂਰ ਰਹੋ, and community ਦਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਬਣੋ, community service ਕਰੋ. It will help you to grow. It will help you to grow mentally, and it will help you to grow in your career as well eventually.
ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ
That's the
message.
biggest.
Yeah, and ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ message, and I think it's very relevant, especially the newcomers, and especially the international student community that's coming in. It's like you can wait on the sports car, you can wait on all these things. They're not going to go anywhere, but it's your education that's always going to stay there. And I will even add to that, don't try to cut corners. Don't try to like escalate the process कि सारा कुछ आज एक को दिन च हो जाए, एक को साल च हो जाए, you know, good things take time. So put in the time and then you will reap the rewards ultimately as well. So.
And I correlate this thing to my both professions, or both my like aviation side as well, and even in the policing side, that the attitude can either, it can fail you big time if your attitude is wrong. In the flying, if an airplane's attitude is wrong, it can crash, right? In the policing career, if an officer's attitude is wrong, people can get hurt. So same thing with our own life, in our general life. If your attitude is not correct, it can fail you big time. So you need to find a good attitude. You need to develop your attitude into a self-motivating, in a positive direction. So for that, even if you have to go to any mentor, any teachers, there is guidance available in the community. There's so many mentors, there's so many professionals here. So reach out to them, ask questions, reach out to us, ask questions about our career or any other professions, reach out to them. They will be happy to guide you. But you need to be self-motivated first with the right kind of attitude.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think attitude is the most important thing. And I think that's my takeaway from it. And hopefully anybody who is listening as well. And that's part of why I do what I do, in sense of, because I felt that we're not looking at the right role models. You know, our role models are just limited to the entertainment industry, but whereas we have so many good people doing such incredible work, so why not highlight those stories? So if somebody wants to learn something from you per se, they know who to reach out to, and it kind of gives you that confidence, like, oh, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਕੀਤਾ, ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ, ਇਹ ਵੀ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਹੀ ਆਇਆ, ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਹੀ ਆਇਆ, ਹੈ ਨਾ? So that's really the theme of it. So I appreciate you bringing that to the fold, because I think a lot of people would relate to that. As we go in the future, what does the future hold for you? Thode next 2-year, 5-year plans, do you have any? What does that look like?
Everyone has career goals, but for me, it's not about promotion or something. Whatever role is given to me within the organization, I'm ready to go for it. The most important part is that if I'm able to pass on the legacy and pass on the information and my experience to the next generation, as a frontline police officer, I'll keep doing my work. That's my main goal.
It's been a pleasure ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਸਿੱਖਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, to decipher your life journey. Lots of good points. I'm confident I had a lot to learn today. ਤੇ ਜੋ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਸੁਣ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੋਗਾ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ they can pick up the tidbits, go implement in their lives and make a difference in their lives. So thank you to you for your time and for sharing your experiences. Before I let you go, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਈ last words, any final closing comments, any thoughts?
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak to you through this platform and guide about my organization, sharing my experiences on this platform. And the work you are doing specifically, I'm seeing a lot of your videos and talk shows with the different personalities, and everything is a learning experience. And keep doing it. You're doing a very good job, and I hope a lot of people are learning from this platform.
Thank you for your kind words. That's really the goal. And I appreciate your time as well. We'll chat soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.